Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 40 of FPL The Onion, the big 4-0, which Shlee and I will both be celebrating next year ourselves. There were a few puns on the table tonight for episode names. I liked top billing, giving top billing to Philip Billing, a man who rarely, despite his name, experiences top billing. This show is about Fantasy Premier League, and listening to it will make you better at FPL, guaranteed. If you think only going with one premium on your Game Week 8 wildcard is a ridiculous idea and you dismiss it immediately without but a moment's thought, then this is the place for you. Game Week 10 was a mixed bag of a week with some good scores for some and some disappointments and broken dreams for others. Liverpool continuing their awful form, and now half their first team is seemingly injured, or they just don't fancy it. Millions selling Arsenal assets before their blank Game Week in 12, before forgetting that they've still got some fixtures before then. City continue to be the best team to ever walk this earth, but still sitting behind said Arsenal in the league. Graham Potter asking Pep to hold his pint and removing every viable Chelsea fantasy asset from his Wolves lineup and winning comfortably anyway. With injuries and some surprise benchings, many managers looked to premium assets, Leon Bailey and Neco Williams on Monday night, leading to an incredibly satisfying end to the game week. Can you tell who I had in my team, Mr. Shlee? Any questions, please put them in the comments below and we'll come back to you with our thoughts. How are you, Mr. Shlee? Another strong week for you.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, thanks. It was pretty decent. Had I got my bench order a little bit better, that would have been really, really good. But it was good. One of those where it'd be really nice to say, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, you held that together pretty well, seeing as you had a bit of a bummer. The old Aubameyang -4 big punt just didn't quite happen, did it?
No, and I was looking at one of my team, my potential routes last week on live FPL, and just seeing that one of them was like Doherty in and Jesus up top. And I think still wouldn't have been great, but I'd have been, I think, like 10 points ahead of where I am now. But I would have had Jesus for Leeds because obviously he didn't get his yellow card as we thought he might. And I think even just like looking at it last week when Doherty didn't play in Europe, he didn't get a single minute. He was like, surely he's not going to not play him. But yeah, it's all hindsight, isn't it? And I think Aubameyang scored tonight, so I think if he had played, which I completely expected him to, because he got taken off after like 70 minutes or something in the previous Milan game, I just didn't see a kind of full benching there at all. So yeah, pretty disappointing week.
I didn't realise that it'd been taken off. Yeah, that was a real eye opener for Potter, wasn't it? And people would, I mean, just with James as well, like it's obviously extending all the way through the team. So, and James has started again tonight. So yeah, I need to try and keep an eye again on Europe this week. And I was thinking it might be quite good to get early transfers in this week and some price changes maybe, but not worth it, I don't think.
No, they've got Villa, haven't they? Which again, maybe he's just going to think I can win that game. I don't know who their Champions League game would be after Villa, but I don't feel like he's going to bench everyone quite so hard as he did against Wolves. But he obviously made the right choice against Wolves. It's funny, isn't it? Because as fantasy managers, when the managers don't pick your assets, you then want them to lose to kind of be for a lesson. But obviously, they just humped Wolves anyway. So
there's no Champions League till after 13 because obviously it's midweek next week.
Right.
Which we haven't discussed what we're doing next week. But yeah, everyone needs to get bottles of Lucozade in ready for next week, so it's going to be pretty carnage. There's I think Sunday games, and then Tuesday is the next game week, and I think there's
bottles of Lucozade. How's that going to help us, Shlee?
I know. We'll do a Planet FPL 24-hour stream or something to cover all this, but there's a lot happening next week, Nick.
Bottles of Lucozade. Yeah, but no, I think James is funny, isn't it? I was just going to look at him now. I mean, we're all so convinced that he's brilliant, but his last 4 scores are 0-1, 2-1.
Yep.
I mean, he's had 3 7s in the first 4 weeks, so that was pretty solid. But I don't think he only had 1 clean sheet in those first 4 games. He's registered 1 clean sheet this season as an asset.
None of those 18 pointers that we like to talk about.
No, I mean he will do that this season. He'll get 1 or 2 of them. You just never know when they're going to be. But as an asset so far, he's been awful, hasn't he? He's got 26 points.
Yeah.
In 10 games.
And there, I mean, I was mentioning a couple of weeks ago, maybe he would be a cash cow after 12, and the fixtures aren't that amazing. after the blank. United are in there, Arsenal are in there, Brighton are blooming attacking well, and Newcastle. So it's not the worst idea to ship him for it. Yeah, but I don't know. We're already taking quite a lot of money out of defence, so they will maybe I'm at the limit already with the classic James, Trippier, Cancelo. Not sure I want to go further down than that.
No, I mean, this is again, he'll never be a priority transfer for me to take out. I think we were talking about this last week, but I guess on a game week 13 wildcard, if there are people who are still going for that at 13, I might not have him on that wildcard.
That's fair. Yeah.
Sorry, he's only played 8 games, hasn't he? Because obviously everybody missed 7 and everybody missed 8 and
everyone missed 7. They might have missed 8 as well.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, they're the game behind. But yeah, none of those 0 and 18s that I'm so fond of. That the 18s just aren't happening.
No, indeed. Yeah, I was gutted about Aubameyang though.
Did you work out what you were? Well, we'll come to your team in a bit, but yeah, that to get 0 on that. And who else did you bring in? Sorry, did you get points from that?
I brought in Gahey for Palace, and
okay.
They lost the clean sheet pretty early.
Yeah,
as well, so not good. But again, he's an enabler, wasn't he? So I don't expect much from him. But Aubameyang not showing up was pretty devastating because it was a potentially exciting forward that didn't show up at all.
Well, definitely fair play for trying to roll the dice and get something out of it. I mean, you're on a bit of a wave from a good week the last week, and I was thinking this week I'd be really good just to try and mix up the transfers and try and be a bit differential, because I feel I've almost got, unless something bad happens with Mitrovic or Maddison gets his 5th yellow this week and screws me over next week, I think I know what my rough transfers are for the next 3 game weeks, albeit, as I say, that's only in the space of a week, so it's pretty dull. And I was listening to was it Baker? They were moaning a bit on, understandably, just saying, everyone's going to get Foden in 13. He's not going to be that much of a differential. What kind of was the point? But he probably only will be only 60-70%. So I think it's still worth doing to cover that as a rank killer. But it would be kind of exciting if it was a bit more of a differential.
Huge thing on Foden is he's more than 4 million cheaper than De Bruyne.
Yep.
And he's outscoring him, not just in the last 4 or 5 game weeks, but over the whole season. Foden's now the top scoring midfielder, isn't he? So in the intro I'm joking about it, but if I had gone for Foden on that game week 8 wildcard rather than De Bruyne and had, I could have had Maddison instead of Leon Bailey with that money. That's a massive upgrade, and it would have meant that I didn't then need to get rid of Martinelli to get those Maddison points. And so obviously, it's flipped around this week. I did really well last week in getting that Maddison haul and missing out on, I know Martinelli got an assist, but then he the yellow card and stuff. But Martinelli's a fantastic pick, isn't he? And in order to get Maddison in, I had to get rid of him. So this is the thing, Maddison's not going to haul every week. In fact, he may never haul again, but Martinelli's a great pick, and I'm probably going to have to try and figure out a way to get him back in. And I think going De Bruyne down, just having one premium, because Haaland, unless he gets an injury, we can just captain him every week. I think for my team, when I've got people like Leon Bailey just stinking it up, that makes a massive difference to me, that 4 million to upgrade him.
Yeah, I was chatting with someone today on Twitter, and they had exactly the same starting 11 as me, except they, rather than De Bruyne and Solanke, I think, what was the difference? They had Foden and Kane. So they had big hitters swapped around, but they're about 50k. No, I think like 25k. And sort of 160 or something. So that is a massive difference, like you say, in only a few game weeks. And I think we were kind of neck and neck up until then, and they well cutted one way and me the other. So
yeah, I mean that's the other thing. On. I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, I think Jesus is a great option from 13 anyway. But yeah, I mean, I could go De Bruyne down to Foden and then upgrade Aubameyang to Kane, couldn't I? And still have probably a million left over.
I was thinking the other thing that it would be funny, where I know sometimes with blanks, I do sometimes think you just got to almost ignore it. You don't want to put too much weight. I wonder if many people wildcarded in 8, 9 and just went, sod that. 6 from Arsenal and City, they're the best teams in the league. They'll take a points drop in 12, but I reckon come game week 16, with similar sort of moves to us, they'll probably be 20, 30 points ahead, because they're just not.
Well, I mean, I think
about with this.
I think some people will have done that, but I mean, I was thinking about this as well. You weren't just looking at the blank in 12. You were looking at Arsenal's fixtures as well, weren't you? You were seeing Spurs, you were seeing Liverpool,
I suppose. Yeah.
and you were just thinking, well, yes, Arsenal are good, but they're the only top six, top eight, top six side that they've played is United, and they lost. And then they've got a couple of other tests coming up. So I think now with them having beaten Spurs and then comfortably, well, not comfortably, but beaten Liverpool and scored 3 goals, it looks really easy to say, oh, we should have kept them all, and obviously we should have done because we'd have more points than we do now. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's some crazy things going on this season, and not least of which Liverpool being absolutely horrendous, right? So
yeah, no, that's true. Actually, I'm just looking back at the fixtures. I was trying to think what was the clincher in game week 8, and it was Brentford away. Straight afterwards, I remember saying that I thought was a really tough game on paper, but then 3-0.
Yeah.
Xhaka got an assist. Jesus score. Saliba obviously would have got his clean sheet, but yeah, I think all the sort of assets came in that week and the next, and it was a kind of I'm glad I didn't sell all of them. Yeah, Jesus
yeah. I mean,
scored,
I saw
Saka
loads of people on Twitter selling. I think a lot of people sold Martinelli this week for like Zaha and
yeah, there was a lot of
Trossard and people like that. So
yeah, I think there would have been a lot of net losses, unfortunately, with the transfers this week. Yeah, Saka, Kane, Martinelli, I knew people sold this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Liverpool thing is crazy, and they've now lost. Apparently, Trent's out for 3 weeks, and Matip's out for 2 or 3 weeks as well. And then was there some who is it who's got? Is it somebody at Liverpool who's got a knee injury?
I'm not sure. Well, Thiago still, is he back? Is he not? Did he? I don't think he's. Did he start against?
No, it might have been. It might be Diaz. Hasn't Diaz got a knee injury?
Oh yeah, Diaz is out. Yeah.
So I mean, you think Diaz in particular has been one of their better players this season. I think Trent being out probably would have helped them defensively because they could have just brought in somebody and just shored it up. But obviously, Matip being out is really bad as well. Apparently, Konyate's back, but yes, obviously they've got City now, haven't they? So that's the other thing. I think we probably will have a slightly shorter episode this week because I just don't think there's too much I can do in terms of transfer plans, and I think a lot of people will be in the same boat. Whereas with the blank next week and with City and Liverpool playing each other this week, it just doesn't make sense to use a load of transfers, I don't think.
Yeah, if you played your wild card and you got one free transfer, even if you've got quite a few fires, the temptation surely is to roll because you could do something now, deal with a Patterson, or you think Williams is going to start deal with that, but then someone else gets injured or the person you bring in, Classic, gets injured. You just want to have as much information for next week, I think.
Yeah, I heard. I listened to Planet FPL yesterday. I do love that pod. I think it's great when they just go through the game, especially when I haven't had a chance to watch too much over the weekend, that you just get this full kind of in-depth rundown. And James reckons that Foden's going to end up playing on the left against Liverpool because although it was before kind of we knew Trent was injured, but he thinks he'll do better on that side because he's faster than Grealish. Although I think Grealish is pretty rapid as well, but he thinks Foden will play left, and so it'll slightly diminish his return because whenever he plays left, he stays much further wide.
Oh, okay, right. I thought you were going to say because he'll now be up against sorry, who's deputising for Trent. It'll actually be a bit harder to get through that because if it was against Trent, great. But
no, I don't think he knew that he wasn't talking. He was talking about Foden going up against Trent because he would be able to burn him for pace. But you're right. I think it'll probably be Gomez, won't it? It'll play right.
Sorry, yeah. Although I think they were talking about Mahrez probably being on the right, but then Mahrez tonight, well, he got taken off, but in doing so, missed a pen and probably in Pep's bad book. So maybe Foden will be on the right.
Yeah, are they still winning that game?
City.
Yeah.
No, they drew 0-0.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's not good, is it?
No, but and a man sent off in the 35th minute or something. So I think it was one side
Haaland,
until then.
Haaland and De Bruyne. Did Haaland and De Bruyne both full rest, or did they come on?
De Bruyne started and got about 75 minutes. Haaland didn't come on at all.
Okay.
Foden I think he came on when De Bruyne came off. So I was thinking if De Bruyne got 90 and Foden didn't get any, kind of sounds crazy, but I did have in my head earlier today, maybe I would just switch De Bruyne to Foden this week. It would save me a transfer down the line. But as I've been saying for the last 3 weeks, it's risky to do that sideways move. But obviously, had I done it, it would have paid off handsomely. But
yeah,
I probably will do other things and hokey cokey them a bit out. De Bruyne out next week, and then Foden in the week after.
he's big game Kev as well, isn't he? So
Yeah, exactly. But could have said that the last few weeks. He's an assist machine, isn't he? At the moment, against
yeah, and
United,
I
it
just think
wasn't the same.
yeah, and Liverpool are in dire straits, aren't they? So you can imagine them going absolutely mad. But yeah, I think if I had two free transfers to save myself a transfer and to bank on Liverpool scoring, I might have done like Cancelo out and then had brought Foden into midfield. But again, ahead of that game, you never know, do you? Cancelo, obviously with his massive haul this week, he could do it again against Liverpool, couldn't he?
Although you'd want, that would be fine if you'd want De Bruyne after 12 more than Cancelo, but surely now it's Cancelo, Foden, and Haaland.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Before Cancelo got his 18-pointer, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. But then the very quick reminder of what can happen for 7 mil or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think when a team is smashing it like City and Arsenal are, if you're going to have 3, it is a sensible balance to have that spread. I don't know, maybe just a kind of ordered, philosophical type thing, but having defender, midfielder, attacker is quite nice.
Which three are you looking for from Arsenal from 13?
Well, I don't think I'll have 3. I think I'll only be able to get 2, and I still have this soft spot for Saliba, but maybe that's just people talking about him being Real Madrid one day and being that good. So I think Martinelli the best just because he's so good value. Saka probably next now because he's on pens, and people are still talking about Jesus being that link man and a bit of a Firmino role. Yeah, he's good and scoring a bit more than Firmino over his career in that role, but he's still linking other players and the midfielder scoring more. But then the third one, if I was going to wildcard, say I think it is tough between Jesus and Saliba. Maybe it depends when Jesus gets his booking. If he's still on 4 yellows by 12, you might not want to risk it because the fixtures are good, but then they get a bit rough around the World Cup, don't they? They got 2 good ones and 2 iffy ones. Yeah, Southampton and Forest you could have won, but then Chelsea away, Wolves away might be quite tight.
Yeah, interesting. I think you're right. I think even with transfers being at a premium, it's probably another reason why I kind of regret my Aubameyang move, especially when much maligned Solanke got his 2 assists, but no bonus.
I was loving that. It was a classic. I was in the garden, so I was only 5 living it rather than watching anything, and that they just weren't clear who the assist was at all. I don't think they mentioned it. They just said, "Oh, Christie scored and Billing scored," and then when about 5 minutes later I found Solanke was involved with both. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, well played on that. I mean, I just thought they're just not scoring goals, and he's not that great. But even
they weren't, were they? They were saying O'Neill was defence first, but I mean Leicester are just terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, but even just that, that 8 points is so well timed. If I just done the kind of boring move of Isak to Solanke, I'd obviously have cash in the bank and 8 points instead of 0 and be pretty well set up. But
I think he was my biggest hero, whatever, this week. Yeah, of the 8 points, I think I gained like 7.
Yeah, and they've got a good fixture in 12 as well, haven't they? Which is when you need them to play. So a missed opportunity for me, kind of going for the glory. But hopefully Aubameyang starts getting played in the league soon. But I don't know, you just don't know, do you?
Yeah, they've only got 1 fixture in the next 6. I think that's on a 10+ hauler. So don't know. They do get pretty rough quite quickly, Chelsea. I mean, you're kind of probably getting them for the next 3, right? You just get them through to 12, Aubameyang, and then you're probably going to ditch.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a lot of times when you make a transfer, it's, usually you're doing it because the fixture that week is the one you want. And the others afterwards are almost a bit of a bonus. Yeah. I wanted that Wolves fixture with, managerless Wolves, but wasn't to be. Another misstep.
We were talking
on many.
We've done a few weeks about Leicester and Maddison out in 13, but given Wolves are as bad as they are, I'm tempted to keep him now and do Maddison to Saka in 14. Just quickly looking at the planner there, I think I'm going to delay.
I don't know, because but Arsenal have got Southampton away, haven't they? So I
Yeah,
think
but then I've got Martinelli. If you haven't by then,
I think
you
I
probably
will be.
prioritise that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I may even do Saka first because he's on pens, and then
yeah, fair.
because I think they're going to be the two that I'm going to prioritize from Arsenal. But I just need to figure out then what I'm going to do with Aubameyang. But I think De Bruyne down to De Bruyne down to Foden, and then I can just prioritize the other two after that. I like the idea of rolling a transfer into 12, maybe only making one transfer in 12 and then actually having two in 13.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Well, 20 minutes has gone, and yeah, we've got to the second slide. That's the intro. That's the intro done.
Well, we've covered it. We've covered a lot from the games.
Yeah, it's fine. It's happened last week, but we had got through about 3 slides by that point, so we better get back
Who
to
needs slides? People are here for our sultry caramel voices.
Not quite Mark Southerns, but you're getting there. Right then, FPL Onion League looks like this. None of the top 5 moved up or down, and there was 7 points separating them in terms of scores. So it was a little bit of what was it, game week 4 when Perisic got his like 14 points. I remember it, being so tight, and like you say, that Solanke 8 points was massive this week because so many forwards were getting sort of 2 and to 6ish, but getting an 8 from a 10% owned player was pretty nice. Tom Martin, shout out to Tom, 80 points. That was a league high alongside Rim Conwa, who's down 10th-ish, I think, maybe Raj's brother. But yeah, nice one to Tom. You got the Andreas benching the correct way around, so he came on for Mitrovic. He's up to 6th.
I look around. I see a lot of teams with Martinelli in them.
Yeah, are you just having a scan now? Or
No,
just from
I'm
the points
I
you're
just
assuming?
know. I just know that if you look at every single one of those teams that's got more than 70 points, they'll have Martinelli in there.
Yeah, or maybe Foden over De Bruyne, but yeah.
Or both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're down to 17th. I'm just about clinging onto the screen, grabbing 9th. But yeah, and just put on that spread of points, we were chatting about it earlier, that it seems like it's fairly clustered at the moment. What is it, for example, 50 points separating 100k to a million. And I suppose on the one hand, 50k doesn't sound too much, but then I guess unless you got a wild card 13 up your sleeve, it's probably things like only game week 12 captain that you're going to go really rogue on for the next couple of weeks. But maybe towards World Cup, the couple of weeks before that, there might be some rotation there, so there could be some games to be made there, maybe.
Yeah, I think the big time, although I guess there'll be another template that will form just before the game comes back in game week 17. But it feels like, obviously, with unlimited transfers during the World Cup, that will be a time where it'll kind of be a massive reset, won't it? And everybody will kind of go again from there. But
yeah. But yeah, it would be nice to see what it was at this stage last season, because this is when you made quite a gain last season. So that makes me think, although I know people like James already came in for you, and Ronaldo captains, you were getting right. To make those big gains, maybe it was also quite tight, but I don't know. It does feel that a few people on Twitter saying, "Oh, I'm just stuck between sort of 1 million and 2 million and just bouncing about and can't really make much ground." It's tricky.
yeah, although again, it just shows like a little change on the game week 8 wildcard, just having one premium rather than 2, and having somebody like Foden. I think that could have made an absolutely massive difference. I do think that it's going to be harder to gain ground in this season, given that I think most people are going to captain Haaland every week. As you say, game week 12 could be a good opportunity if you get the captaincy right. If you get the one player who bangs that week, that could be a week to fly up, couldn't it?
Yeah, I'm torn at the moment between Salah and Trossard. I know we were both talking about Trossard, but it was Nima on Net That Hall that was really putting me off. It's just like, I never play the game by captaining someone that's that low value, which, in black and white, it's probably a bit of a crazy rule, but I think actually I'm going to have that player for 1 week, so it would be a complete 1 week punt. It would be, De Bruyne to that person, and then that person to Foden.
Who've Leicester got in 12?
Not sure offhand. They have got Leeds at home. I was going to say the Walker Stadium. What's the ground called? It's not it anymore.
No. Yeah, because the thing is, I don't think not many people are going to have a Leeds player, are they? No, I do like Trossard. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because he's just blanked after so many people brought him in, but that's just what Spurs can do, I think.
Yeah, I think
It's a great
this week might sort of decide that for me. If Trossard does something against Brentford, that's a game that they could do something. He might be my man in, but if Liverpool show something, I mean, how many times have we wanted that to happen? Bounce back, maybe Salah's in the Champions League. I think it would have to be, and against City, you know, get something, then maybe we'll get him in for a. Well, the 1 week punt for Salah for me is trickier because then they have good fixtures after. Whereas Trossard has got City straight away, so that would be a perfect get him in and then get him out.
Yeah, and that's why, again, I think it's quite important for me to roll a transfer this week, because if I don't roll a transfer this week, and maybe we'll be sitting here next week looking at the fact that we should have brought in Kane or Son for that Everton game when Liverpool and City play each other this week and captain one of those. But I just think that game week 12, given that, you know, people can't captain Haaland, that is such a massive week for a gain, isn't it? And so it's probably worth a transfer in 1 week and a transfer out the next, just to try and put the captaincy on somebody. I do really think, given how Liverpool are playing and given that West Ham is not an easy fixture, I think Trossard's a really good option that week.
Yeah, you've reminded me about the Son plan. I hadn't thought about that recently. I thought about it 2 weeks ago, but I've not really entertained it since. Maybe if Son does something in the Champions League, I could be tempted, because that gives me an extra player in 12, albeit it's not the greatest one. You know, you wouldn't probably captain Son in 12, but
no, I don't think you'd captain him, but I don't think you'd mind having him against United, because they will probably be able to hit United on the break, won't they?
Yeah.
And it is away, so the Old Trafford crowd are going to make United come forward, and Tottenham, and, you know, as we've seen and as we're starting to hear more and more, Conte's football is just, he will sit back and wait for you to come on. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, James was pretty honest about that. It's quite funny, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? As long as they're winning, they're third in the league, those fans aren't going to care. As soon as the results start to slip, the fans get really, really annoyed with that kind of football, because it is just so boring.
Yeah. Right, my week 73. Cancelo, obviously the hero. We were talking last week about, maybe he's the one to get rid of, and you might go triple City mids and attack, but he reminded us all what he can do. Trippier doing the stuff with, what was it, a bonus and 2 bonus and an assist for that Gameweek back post. So he's just ticking along. I think he's got a 0.4 since I got him in, so he's really going up in price.
Did he get a yellow card and still get 2 bonus then? Guess he must have done.
Didn't think he got a yellow.
Oh, you know, he got the assist. Yeah.
Yeah, just an assist and 2 bonus.
Yeah, assist and 2 bonus. Yeah, that makes sense.
Martinelli, I mean, first minute, that was pretty nice when that went in. And then Solanke with 8, but my auto sub didn't work out. Andreas, which I was pretty annoyed about. Few rules I broke there with defender over a midfielder. Don't do that. And we were chatting with Tom, weren't we, on WhatsApp about it's just one of those funny things that you listen to so much stuff, and I just didn't click that Neco had been taken off for Aurier, and that was a bit of a threat. So had I just heard that one little snippet, or maybe pay more attention to the team news, I would have got that the better way around. It seemed quite a few people did that, but quite a few people did get it the right way around. So I was pretty peeved to keep 5 points down on that, and that could have been a lot worse with Andreas. Obviously did get a booking and no bonus. So as I say, it was a decent week for sure. It could have been really good with 5 points more, but
he got booked for headbutting what's his chops forearm, didn't he?
Was it he was blocking him for the corner shenanigans, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, apparently he'd blocked him like twice before that, but on the third one, I agreed with James, where he literally swings his forearm into his face. Dawson, and so I just think, Dawson could have got booked for that, and the free kick could have gone the other way. I just think the ref was just looking for the holding, because he'd obviously seen it in the last 2
instances.
But, yeah, pretty annoying, especially when who was it who scored the pen? Bowen, who I didn't have as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's another reason for Tom Martin getting going. On his wild card, that initial blank, but then a 14 and a 7. Yeah, Bowen's doing great.
Yeah.
their fixtures are mixed, I want to say. Good home ones, but yeah, away to Liverpool, away to United in there. I mean, away to Liverpool, maybe that's not too bad. But they've also got this blooming Conference League, so it's quite funny how they're, well, I want to say doing great now. They've obviously got Europe, but their fixture block is going to be quite tricky.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his team. He's done well to fit because he's got De Bruyne, Maddison, Bowen, and Martinelli in that midfield.
Right.
I guess he doesn't have. I've now got a 9 million forward, which I don't.
Yeah, I guess he's got Solanke to afford that.
Yeah, he's got Solanke, Mitrovic. Yeah, but still, that's the thing. Like, you didn't have to go for Foden on the wild card to still have like kind of the at least 2 8 million mids and then then Martinelli. So no, he's done very well on that wild card.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say on mine. Over to you.
Yeah, a big drop down in points. Obviously, Maddison last week was the hero, swapping him out for Martinelli. But as you said, my ranks now slipped out back past the million again because obviously Maddison blanked this week and Martinelli smashed it. So, and when you don't have these assets that are very highly owned and they score, it absolutely destroys your ranks. So, the big regret is just. I think even before, I think on that Gameweek 8 wildcard, I don't know how many returns Foden had, but I just remember thinking Foden was a bit of a troll last season and that he'd do well and then he'd just disappear for weeks. I've never been a massive fan of his from a fantasy perspective, but so I don't think I would have. I didn't really give any kind of consideration to De Bruyne to Foden on that wildcard really. So can't have too many complaints. Obviously, Aubameyang being auto subbed out to third on my bench. that was just devastating. I just thought he's the kind of player I think who can get a brace or a hat trick. So I just thought I was kind of going against it, and he was like, I think less than 2% owned, so he could have been a huge differential. And as I say, just Potter taking him off after 70 minutes against AC Milan in the first game just made me think, well, he's like resting him for the league, but then to give him a full rest in the league is just pretty devastating, really. But it is what it is. I'm not going to just rage transfer him out, although I may have done in the past. Bailey, I just cannot believe that I put him back into my team on a Game Week 8 wildcard. I just looked at the fixtures and thought, he looked like for 4.7, and I actually took, I think, all of those 0.3 of those drops. So I think for 4.7, he looked a good option. But when you look at like Almiron at Newcastle, since that Game Week 8 wildcard, again, I didn't really consider him, but it just shows there are places where you can make ground. Because if I brought Almiron in, I'd be absolutely flying. I think if I'd had his points rather than Bailey sat there. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be loads more for him. I think St. Maximin's back, and I don't think he's in their first team. But that volley he scored when he took the return pass, did you see that? And then he just flicked it into the far corner.
Almiron.
Yeah, last week.
Amazing. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So he just looks like a man possessed at the moment. He looks incredible, doesn't he?
But according to James, he's still a man, whose minutes aren't guaranteed. When he thinks when Isak comes in, he'll take that right sort of wing spot.
Well, no, I completely agree. I think, they've bought Isak for however much, 50 million or whatever it was. Yeah. I don't think Almiron will stay in the team. They've got St. Maximin's back as well.
Yeah, true.
Competing for those spots. So, but yeah, he's done incredibly well. It's going to be difficult for Howe to leave him out now. But
as I was saying on the text, it's like at the point when we wildcarded, Almiron, I think I got one return, as had Bailey, and he just scored against City, so he's kind of flavoured a month.
I know. That's the
tricky.
thing.
And Foden, just out of interest, because it's interesting looking back, he had a 9-pointer in Game Week 2, but got taken off 45th minute. He had a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
And then 2 blanks Game Week 1 and 3. And then in Game Weeks 4, 5, and 6, he had 4, 2 points. And one of those he got taken off in the 54th minute, the 6-0 against Forest. So there was some doubt over his minutes still. So I think it was we're not quite sure. To be fair, in the last 3 games since the wildcard, he's only played 71, 74, and 57 minutes.
But he has
got 38 points.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can look back at these things, but there were reasons why I wasn't looking at players like Foden and Almiron on that game week 8 wildcard.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
had I done, it'd be in a totally different position. But also, I mean, having players like Bailey in the side, I kind of thought I need him for game week 8, and I kind of will probably need him for game week 12. But outside of that, I didn't expect to need him, and I think that's another good lesson, is that you don't know what's going to happen. So Mitrovic getting injured and now still being a doubt, you do need some strength on your bench, don't you? And I think Neco Williams obviously is now dropped out of the side. Obviously he came on, but he's not somebody we can rely on now either. So yeah, it hasn't gone particularly well. Pope hasn't done anything since that wild card. Trippier's obviously been the antithesis of that, even though they've conceded in all those games. He's managed to get decent returns in all those games, but everybody's got him. But yeah, I think getting rid of Martinelli a couple of weeks too early was not a good move, but it was kind of necessitated by not playing the wild card so well, having Zaha in there. I mean, Zaha's got his first return for me since I got him in, 3 game weeks ago. And yeah,
I was so glad about that. He wasn't very good in the first half, apparently. Then Palace were really good, and albeit I think he did that, really nice flick, but he's still showing some real selfish signs. But he was a bit on the chopping block, and I was annoyed that I kind of followed the herd a little bit on that on wildcard. So okay, 5 points, not great, but I'm glad he got something.
No, I'm delighted he got something, but you think to have him on game week 8 when I could have had Maddison, I could have had Bowen, I could have had whoever else, and I kind of was putting him in to save myself a transfer like 2 game weeks down the line. It's just not very smart. So
you were pretty unlucky with the likes of Gay getting, bloody, just when you need someone to come off your bench and get a solid 2, he gets booked. Okay, Williams, maybe the writing was on the wall there a little bit. Madison got booked. There's a couple of points you've lost there.
Yeah, I mean, I had Gay starting, didn't I?
Okay.
Yeah, I had him starting. That was the thing. The alternative to Aubameyang Gay was, as I said, Doherty and Jesus, wasn't it, to kind of go back there? But it would have been just my luck that Jesus would have got booked and then missed the Leeds game. But now to not have an Arsenal attacker when they've got Leeds next is pretty bad. But I think that's the issue for me now, is that I can't go back there. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat because of game week 12. You can't use a transfer this week to bring back an Arsenal attacker against Leeds, even though they could get a double-digit haul, only for them to then miss game week 12. So I think I'm just, you've done really well to roll a transfer into this week. Surely you've got to make one transfer this week. So are you looking at potentially, I guess you could now do Son, couldn't you?
Yeah, could do. Or my likely one is Patterson to Gay. So boring, right, and just have that loaded ready for next week. My kind of preference would maybe be to do something a bit attacking with getting rid of City or Arsenal, but I think it's too risky with the fixtures. As in, classic would be Gay gets a blooming injury or something on the weekend before next week. You almost don't want to do any of those until the week you need it, but I, like you say, can't burn one.
No, and I guess Patterson is an issue, isn't he? When you need your full bench.
We're not going to get many people doing a Raptor with our podcast when last week your transfer plans on your page was to roll, and then you go and do a -4. No one's going to be able to follow what you're doing, and you bring in Aubameyang. That's completely left field.
Well, we haven't talked about that. I mean, straight after the pod last week, I saw the fact that Aubameyang had obviously scored in Europe, and I just thought, and I looked at his ownership and saw how low owned he was, but we didn't really mention him last week.
No, he didn't.
And then The Wire, I listened to The Wire on, I think, Thursday. They waited till Thursday, and they've kind of said, look, they're going to try and balance it. But it's, obviously the later in the week that you pod, the less people are going to listen to it, but the better the information will be because you've got more info. So they talk quite a lot about Aubameyang. And it was one of those, again, hindsight is everything. And I didn't expect him not to start, but I just looked at it on that Wednesday night and it was 0-0 in the bank to do Gahey. And obviously if I'd waited a day, there aren't any like 4.2 playing defenders, I don't think. Certainly not any decent ones with good fixtures like Palace have got. So I was just like, it's 0-0. I've got to do it tonight. Aubameyang looked like he was rising. And I think Isak looked like he was falling again. They didn't fall up until I think it was either the Thursday or the Friday night. But then when I listened to The Wire, they, late rise were going on about Aubameyang too and just saying what a great option he was. He didn't bring him in. I think he brought in his favourite, Anthony Martial, who then we didn't really mention too much either. But for him to get injured again, super unlucky, isn't it? To get the assist and then get injured again. But that's kind of what he's been like, isn't it, over the last few seasons? So
yeah, United look good in attack. Anthony's goal was lovely, but yeah, Marshall just can't stay fit. But
yeah,
hey,
he's
you made the transfers on the Wednesday night, didn't you? But you
yeah,
listened
I
to the
did
pod
because
on
I was
Wire
worried
on
about that.
Thursday.
When it's 0-0, you really worry about
Yeah,
losing it, don't you? So somebody like Anthony, we haven't really mentioned him. I agree with Planet FPL where he doesn't seem to have been particularly involved, and yet he just keeps getting goals, doesn't he? I mean, his goal against City was probably the goal of the game out of 9 goals. But United's fixtures are really tough, aren't they? I think.
Yeah, I've got them
James
10th
West
on the
Ham.
ticker, so not too bad. But yeah, Newcastle, they're in form, albeit it's Old Trafford, so that might be tricky. Spurs could go either way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see all of those games almost being like 1-1, 2-1. I don't see many one-sided clean sheets. I mean, United's defence isn't great, but you're against some teams that have got some potent attacks until Villa and Fulham.
Yeah, and I guess somebody like Anthony, given that he's shown that he can score all sorts of goals and he's been very, very clinical. I mean, I'm guessing he's massively overperforming his XG, especially with goals like that City goal. But maybe he'll just keep playing himself into form, kind of thing, and getting more involved in the game. So
Well, that's
might
the
be an
sort of
interesting
player who I
one.
could bring in a 1 week punt. If someone does something decent in Europe this week, show some form at the weekend, and has got an okay fixture. But the latter of those definitely isn't fulfilled with Anthony with Spurs. But that sort of punt I'm looking for.
Yeah, I still think though with those fixtures, you'd be better off punting on Son, wouldn't you? If you're getting rid of De Bruyne anyway.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really like to do it this week. If Son had Everton next week, fine. But the brightest blue fixture there, and sometimes I do think, well, I make this ticker, I might as well follow it. Sometimes to the gospel is to get at least a Brighton mid or attacker in. But Trossard seems to be the one.
But you mean you wouldn't do it this week because you just don't want to lose De Bruyne before a shaky Liverpool defence?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Son, as I said, I hadn't really thought of that until you mentioned it. Obviously, the benefit there is that I do get a +1 player next week. And sort of get that done this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad luck on the. I think was it 60 -4? Or is it 64 -4? But yeah, either way, it's. Did you actually lose points there then? Did Perisic not play either?
Perisic didn't play. I think he came on for 1 point, and
Right.
Gay obviously got me 1 point, and then obviously, I think I was down 3 points because I got Neco Williams for a 1-pointer off the bench for Aubameyang.
But had you not done anything, would you have got Andreas's points off the bench?
Yeah, I would have definitely got Andreas's points off the bench
Okay.
because I had Isak, so I
Okay.
still would have had 3 players who didn't play.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I could have done nothing because I knew that Isak wasn't going to play. But if I'd just done Isak to Solanke, I'd be well up on it, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So and in hindsight, we did discuss that a lot. That was the kind of boring, sensible move. But I would have had a good fixture in 12, and they may not be setting the world on fire, Bournemouth, but they haven't lost since they got trounced by Liverpool. And
yeah,
I think the stat from Planet FPL was they've picked up more points than anyone but City, or is it anyone? I think they've picked up more points than anybody outside the top 3 after that Liverpool defeat.
Yeah, something like that. I was just trying to figure that out. I mean, they changed the goalkeeper, didn't they? Neto's in now after that 9-0. So a few things have changed. Obviously, O'Neill's come in.
That's a good name for a goal. Good name for a goalkeeper.
Neto. Yeah, 1-1 at Newcastle, 0-0 Brentford, and then they beat Leicester in the 3 games since the blank in 7. So yeah, decent. I mean, I haven't ruled out getting as crazy as it sounds. Yeah, rather than Gay, who seems to be the flavour 4.3, getting what's the guy's name? You got Senesi, is it? I don't know how to pronounce his name. I presume he's Italian from Bournemouth 4.5. He's had a 9-pointer last week with crazy 34 bonus and a 0-0. So something like that. I'm thinking again, who can I sort of punt on to be a bit differential? But I think the boring one is to do as I say, the Gay and the Foden type moves in, and Trossard.
Yeah.
Just while we're on the games this week, what else did I note down? Brentford, I mean, playing out from the back, they gifted 2 goals to Newcastle, so that 5-1 is probably a bit swayed by the fact that Brentford just, with Raya doing crazy things, just gifting goals. But who have they got next?
Newcastle are absolutely flying, aren't they?
they got Brighton. So yeah, I think that, as I say, is quite a nice Trossard test. Yeah, Guimaraes getting 2 from defensive mids, but he's still quite attacking. I'm interested in him. He's shown obviously last season he can do it.
He's one of those, isn't he, where I won't get him in because he's a defensive mid and probably his XG stats are terrible, but he just seems to be one of those players who's just always popping up in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. We talked about Saka being on pens. What else happened this week?
Saka's one of those. He's a good lesson where you looked at him at the start of the season and Martinelli was massively outscoring him. Jesus was scoring hat tricks, and you just thought, "Oh, Saka's done." But these players, they're brilliant for a reason, aren't they? And I think Saka's only going to get better over the next few years. He's the kind of, that's why I'm looking at him so strongly now for game weeks 13 to 16. I think he's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Okay, top 10k review. Haaland got over the 200% mark.
So every point Haaland gets, you drop rank.
Yeah, if you're in the top 10k. So not applicable for us.
All right.
Did you listen to Above Average this week?
No, I haven't actually. Not yet.
Baker was good on that. He made a good point that is basically, though, a benefit when this week happens as it does, that triple captains are getting eaten, because you can see here 2% of the top 10k did triple captain. Yeah. So yeah, we lost a little bit of points, but hopefully if we triple captain someone with 15 points or whatever, you're going to gain more than that back when you
someone. If we triple captain someone, you mean when we triple captain Haaland at another point of the season?
He might get injured. They might not have a double. Don't know. Might have a double and there's rotation risk. I don't know. It's easy to say now, and everyone's talking about season keepers and whatever, but it's a long old season. Could all change.
I mean, Shlee, we haven't talked about it. Something huge happened this week. Massive. You wouldn't see it because I'm nowhere near the top of the Onion League, but changed my team name.
Yeah. Right. Do you want to tell us how long River Trent's been in existence?
River Trent, I think, has been in circulation for a good 3 years. And as a United fan, to name my team after a Liverpool right back, it just shows how talented Trent is. I think I changed my team to River Trent. I feel like it was around the time that Trent took that quick corner. Was it against Barcelona?
Yeah.
In the semi-final, and he just whipped that corner in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just incredible. But his form and it's been so bad, and he just looks like such a shadow of his former self that I've changed my team name from River Trent, which I thought was quite a clever name, to Interwunderland, which doesn't quite work.
You need to work on the inflection of that.
Well, no, maybe you just go for Into Wonderland, but it doesn't work quite so well. But when you see it, the Arland is obviously Haaland, because he's just the main man, isn't he? And I just think, given that we're coming into the Christmas period, a Winter World Cup, although Haaland's not going, and Inter is another football team prefix, so quite like it. Hopefully, you'll be seeing it flying up the Onion League. It's going to change my fortunes.
See it in bright lights. Well, that's set and forget for the next 5 years or something. Happy days.
Probably, yeah, until he goes to Real Madrid, having broken every single scoring record there is.
Yeah, that's been circulating a lot this week, isn't it? The number of goals scored for a 22-year-old, and everyone's comparing. What was it? Messi's got 50, Neymar got 50, and Haaland's on 160 or something crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, that is surprising for Messi, isn't it? I know, because he came into that Barcelona team at like 16, didn't he? And I know he would have only got like 10 goals a season at the start, and he would have just been incredibly creative, and before he got into his kind of runs of 40s, 50s, and 60s. But that is amazing that at 22, Messi had only got like 60 or 70 goals.
Yeah, Messi had an injury, or he was just the provider. Maybe he had them in 100 assists at that point.
Yeah, I think that was when like Ronaldinho and Eto'o were still in that side, wasn't it? And he wasn't the main man, but yeah, amazing. I mean, obviously Haaland's been an out and out striker since he came in, and I think some of those goals have been in like the Norwegian league, etc. But still, yeah, he's gonna break every record going, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Martinelli 67%, as you said. That would hurt.
Brutal.
And actually, Jesus has really dropped because he was about 80% when he got was it 8 points against
Yeah.
Brentford, and we were all cursing that, thinking, well, yeah, it's 8 and probably cost us 7. But he's been dwindling quite a bit. But yeah, Trippier's gone from 30% owned, maybe game week 5, 6 to the second highest in the top 10k. Everyone's got him.
Yeah, and the only players performing in my team are the ones that are ridiculously highly owned. So, yes,
Yeah, you own 5 of the top 6, and yeah, Martinelli unfortunately is the one you didn't have. Well,
but look at Foden. I mean, Foden's still good differential on 33%. So
yeah, every week I think until 13, I'll be thinking, why didn't I do that swap? Last week was I had it kind of on my mind. Just another 5-point swing would have been worth a hit. Even it's really annoying.
Nah, you don't kick yourself, Shlee. You won't be thinking about it in game week 12.
Yeah. Talk me out of it next week.
He's only 33% owned in game week 12. Get him in.
How tempted are you by Haaland captain then this week?
It'll definitely be on Haaland.
Okay.
I think City are going to want to teach Liverpool a very painful lesson. And I don't think City, there some stats City haven't won at Anfield in I think since Nicholas and Elka scored there for them or something. There's some crazy long time they haven't beaten them there. So
Okay.
I think Haaland, a bit like when he played United, he knows that the world's going to be watching that game, and I think he'll be champion at the bit to get another hat trick. So it's not to say he will, but I reckon he'll get a couple of returns in that game. So I'm just going to go for Haaland again.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm 90% there. I do think if people really want to take a punt and do something silly, I mean, my team says it's not a bad idea. Liverpool are surely going to try and, well, you'd think, try and keep it tight and not just go gung ho in the way they seem to be able to at the moment. But I don't know, maybe Klopp's too stubborn to change it.
Well, I mean, he can't suddenly turn his team into
True.
Conte Spurs overnight. I mean, they'll still be trying to hunt the ball. They'll still be playing that kind of football. They kind of rush out and see if they can catch them in possession high up the field. And City love taking the ball under pressure, and they'll play through them, I think. And I think they'll have space behind. They've obviously now, I think Matip is a bigger miss for them than Trent, certainly.
Be. Yeah.
Although I guess, a lot of people think very highly of Konaté, don't they? So I guess if he comes in and does well, they could keep it tighter. But I mean, Van Dijk's probably the biggest worry, isn't he, for that defense? He just doesn't look like he's able to shake off this bad form that he's in. And I think Haaland's just he's going to outmuscle him, isn't he?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and I suppose the United game has told us that, yeah, on paper, these tough fixtures, Liverpool will be leaving gaps, like you say, if they try and do what they've done against Arsenal. Maybe they will just slice through them. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a bit more
talking about it does really make me want to do that swap of, because as you say, I think that's quite a good way of looking at it, is if you're going to use transfers to switch, say you're going to switch around your City assets, like you're saying you're going to go De Bruyne to Foden in the future, and you're going to do that.
Yeah,
I do quite like the idea of taking Cancelo out and having the attack, because I do think Liverpool are going to score. I think Nunez has got enough going forward. I think Salah actually will. I think I've just got this feeling he's going to perform slightly better against City, because he'll be really up for it as well. So I do think that City will concede. I just think they could win 4 or 5-1.
Yeah, it could be, but you are wasting one transfer compared to, unless you got. I think what your plan is good if you got a wild card, but if I do De Bruyne to Foden, sorry, if I do someone to Foden and lose Cancelo, I definitely need to get Cancelo back in 13.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, because this is the thing, we know Cancelo can do these 18s, but I think if Cancelo had just got, I don't know, 6 this week, then I think it would be a lot more tempting for me to switch to Foden, knowing, because you're 3 City. If you're 3 City moving forward are De Bruyne, Foden, and Haaland, I don't think you're losing out too much to Cancelo. I think it's just that,
especially with Haaland perma-captain, you don't need to worry about De Bruyne eating the funds.
No, exactly. But then I think, given that Cancelo can now, we've seen him get that and get a goal and an assist and a clean sheet, then, like you say, they're good fixtures from 13 to 16. It does make more sense to downgrade De Bruyne rather than downgrade Cancelo, doesn't it? So,
yeah,
annoyingly so, because I think Foden could do well against Liverpool as well.
yeah,
So.
I do as well. I think he coming back. I can see probably a goal from Foden, and yeah, De Bruyne assist, great, but I can see Foden get a couple more points. It's not as if you can fall back on the pens for De Bruyne because I guess Haaland's got them. Has he taken a pen this year?
Haaland, yeah.
Yeah.
Took one in the first game, didn't he?
Oh, did he? West
His
Ham.
first goal against West Ham was a pen.
Okay. Guess that.
Yeah,
De Bruyne
it's so
to
annoying though, isn't
score.
it? Because I do expect Liverpool to score. So Cancelo's probably just going to get a 2, and then Foden could get an 11 or a 12, and De Bruyne gets 6, and so you are down on it, aren't you? I guess that's the thing. In order to use -4 on that, for me to do a -4 to that, I have to bank on having to bank on Foden outscoring Cancelo by more than 4 points, which isn't a given, is it?
No. We need De Bruyne to get a direct free kick then, basically. Stick one in. That's what we need.
Well, I mean, if he gets 3 assists and Foden doesn't score, then it's
yeah,
fine.
that'd be good. Right, suspension tightrope. I didn't mention last week, but I pinched this from Scout and got a list here of the. Just looking through the notes, I forgot to mention earlier that my fear last week on the slide was Foden exploding, so that's annoying. Good old days of when I used to be fearing Son doing it, and it happened 3 weeks in a row. It's happening again.
You used to fear people exploding. Yeah.
Right, on 4 yellow cards, Gordon actually went up to 5. I got him on the list as 4, but he actually got his 5th. That was good timing for any of his owners who need someone for 12. But yeah, on 4 notable people, Jesus still, Maddison's gone up to 4 as we said, and Darlow's still on 4.
That Maddison up to 4 is super annoying, isn't it?
That's the other reason we've been not doing 2 frees this week and using them both, because if Maddison is suspended,
you might as well get rid of him
12.
1 week early.
Yeah.
1 or 2 weeks early.
Yeah. And then on 3, Saliba still, Tony still, James still, Mitrovic still, Williams and Kane still. Your mate Kara went up to 3. I know you haven't got him, have you? But I think Tom might have him. Someone I know.
Does he? I wouldn't have thought anybody would have him.
I've seen a few
Very
people.
low owned. But the issue now, you think, if Maddison gets booked now next game and misses 12, and Martinelli gets 3 returns against Leeds, I mean, that move is just going to have been, even with Maddison getting like a 19-pointer, that move's been a disaster.
That's been a complete roller coaster, isn't it? Because he went first in that game week and got an assist. You probably he got booked after, didn't he? So you probably think, shit, that's not gone well. Then it went brilliantly on the Monday when Maddison got 18. But yeah, on balance, it might go wrong.
Yeah, that would be the story of my season so far. But yeah.
Anyway, so just these players to keep an eye on. This was interesting. Lego Mane just about visible, maybe in the bottom right. You've seen this, the old classic traffic light of rest for people, and it just highlights how that midweek blank for City between 11 and 13 is actually really good for their prospects of rest. But everyone in Europe has now got a really tight schedule up to 16.
Yeah.
In fact, it's midweek weekend repeat for everyone except City involved in Europe.
So how come if Arsenal have got the same rest in 12?
No, they haven't.
Not because that's when their PSV game's gone in.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
So City should be comparatively rested for the run-in. So going triple on them is good. But yeah, we're talking about triple Arsenal. Maybe there will be some rotation, but they tend to rotate in the Europa League, don't they? So they keep their
and I think
back for the league.
When you're looking at like your Martinellis and your Sakas, they're so young and so fit, these guys, aren't they? That it's like what Pep said about Foden, because you still, yes, it's good that they've got that rest between with 11 and 12, but that gap between their 13 and then their Champions League game is
True, and that's
Very
not as
tight.
much of a given now. And the other match in their group will be nearly over, but that's what's it, Dortmund, Sevilla, and the result of that kind of affects how their group's looking.
Have you got the score? Have you got the
Chelsea's
score in
still
there?
2-0. It was 1-1. That's maybe good for them, taking points off each other.
Yeah, that's great for City, isn't it? Because you're right, they're going to want to win that. They're going to want to win that group, aren't they?
Going to want to win the group, yeah. So City are on 10, Dortmund on 7, and then Sevilla and Copenhagen are on 2. So City are definitely qualified.
Yeah.
But Sevilla's? And Dortmund's the next game, so they might go all out for that. If they get a draw there, then they're
So I can't
top.
quite see that. When's the Dortmund game? After 13?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see my mouse, sorry, but yeah, between 13 and 14.
And the game before that is Brighton, is it?
Yep.
So they're probably going to rest players for Brighton, aren't they?
Do
you not think?
Maybe. Or would they? Yeah, I suppose they're going to rest players. They'd be able to rest players for Sevilla between 14 and 15.
But I don't think they are, because I think if they beat Dortmund, they've won the group, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. So they'd be the rest players for Sevilla.
Oh, you
right?
mean the rest? Sorry. Yeah, rest players in the Sevilla game. Yeah.
But given they got a rest before, do you not think that the other games they'd just be able to go full tilt? I mean, yeah, it's 3 games in a week, but then they have a week off.
No, because I don't think they'll go full tilt. I think they will rest. They have got a full week, haven't they? What they'll probably do is what they've been doing so far. They'll take players off, won't they? So they'll play a team. I reckon De Bruyne and Haaland will start that Brighton game, and then they'll get taken off if they're winning.
I was quite surprised to see De Bruyne to start tonight, and he's got 77 minutes. So I am partly worried that maybe he doesn't start. Surely against Liverpool he's going to start. But
that's the thing, isn't it? If it was anybody but Liverpool, you'd
fair.
think, okay, maybe he won't, but surely he's going to start that game.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, here is you for next week. I was joking before, about quite a few permutations of what happens with Mitrovic, and you've got quite a few question marks with what's going on, but surely you're going to roll, Nick. Surely.
Do you would definitely roll this, would you?
Well, I was looking at the when you were talking about the timing of when you transferred last week. Yeah, 23:51 or something. You made the transfer, so in a couple of hours something will happen, and you'll -4 to get bro urine or something.
I mean, the thing is, after losing yet more ground this week gone, I'd love to say that I'm going to do something. I just think I'm pretty stuck with this team. I think if Mitrovic is definitely injured, it's nice to have Andreas sitting there, and we've seen already that when Mitrovic isn't there, it's not like Andreas just switches off. Again, I didn't see that game, but people, I saw his goal, which was brilliantly taken, and he just looked he apparently looked really, really up for it and was everywhere. So maybe when Mitrovic is out, feels like he needs to step up even more. So I don't mind that. I think if I was looking at like Bailey or Neco Williams coming in for Mitrovic, then I think I'd be making a transfer. But I think I have to roll. I think I'm a bit stuck, and I think in a way it's kind of good that this City Liverpool game's come at this point, because again, it just makes me stick with what I've got. I can't go against Aubameyang. I can't like take him out or do something disastrous there, because I think he should play against Villa, and that's a decent fixture for them. So it'd be nice to be cheering on somebody against Villa rather than cheering for Bailey to try and do something. So yeah, we'll see. I think I am going to roll.
Yeah, fair enough. Two frees next week, albeit it's the midweek one, so you're not going to have as much time to think. But that could be used in so many different ways. That could be even really boring. Bailey and Williams, you're not going to have much cash to do much there, but it could be those two.
That's the thing, right? I mean, in 12, you kind of forget this, but I think Neco Williams has probably lost his place now. Bailey, you just don't know what's going on with him, which is why I wouldn't have him. But in 12, I need them both. So at the moment, that looks pretty horrendous. It means that I can't do anything particularly exciting in 12. But then that's why I do think that De Bruyne down to, it's like we've said, isn't it? If you do, I think De Bruyne down to Trossard, and then Bailey up to somebody I might want. I need to think who that might be. I think Bowen would be good, but obviously they've got Liverpool. So It's annoying because the transfers you want to make them for 13. So maybe the sensible thing for me to do would just be to downgrade De Bruyne to Foden and play with, and then Bailey to Trossard and just have 10 for game week 12.
Yeah, 10. You're assuming that Williams doesn't play. You might get a bit though.
Yeah, true. Then I'm on 9. No, exactly. That's the thing. It's
Who would your other blankers be though? If you did De Bruyne and Bailey to playing players, you'd be benching.
no, but if I
Cancelo.
did De Bruyne to Foden though,
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
then I still need Williams, don't I? So if he doesn't play.
Would you like to hear what Sofa Score is telling me about the Chelsea game, which is just finishing? There is
I'd love to hear
of
that, Shlee.
bombshells in there. Aubameyang got taken off in the 79th minute for Havertz, so that is, I don't know, probably not very helpful. God knows what happens to him at the weekend.
Well, it's relatively helpful, isn't it? And you just think that
same
because
thing
it's
happened last week though, so he then got benched.
Yeah.
But more interestingly, it's saying that Reece James got taken off injured in the 62nd minute. Which, yeah, sometimes it's not very good on whether people actually hobble off or whatever, but obviously it doesn't say whether it's a stretcher or whatever. But that would be bad for us. Carrying a very weak bench into 12 already. We've got losing James.
That would be bad for us. The understatement of the evening there, Mr. Shlee.
I mean, for this week, it's not maybe too bad, but yeah, next week our teams are going to suddenly be flagged all over the place.
No, that's pretty horrendous for this week, because then it means if Mitrovic is out, I've got Bailey or Williams coming off the bench.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, but
I might have to do De Bruyne down to Foden this week to upgrade, a Bailey to a Trossard this week for a -4.
Yeah, I still think De Bruyne. I still think you're going to do something like that. De Bruyne to Trossard, just that. I know it's not. I know it's to get rid of De Bruyne and not covering it with City, but
yeah, but De Bruyne to Trossard might not do it, because then yes, it gives me one extra playing player next week. But if James is out this week and Mitrovic is out this week, I've still got Bailey or Williams coming off the bench this week.
Yeah, fair, but Williams, I know he's not going to get 6, but he might get 2, and
I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to play. Why would he take Aurier out of the side?
Yeah, I suppose.
So I think,
but you will be probably taking a hit down the line. So it kind of every transfer being a -4, you're going to need a return from who you bring in. I mean, I haven't in my head got defenders of my sort of shortlist. I've got some ideas of what to do if Mitrovic is out and what to do if midfielders I'm thinking about all the time because of what to do in 12. But I haven't really got defenders on my radar. If James is out, then I'm going to need to have a think about a defender shortlist.
I think Doherty is probably the best bet.
Did he play 90 minutes then? We think he's nailed still for a bit.
I don't know whether he got 90, but he definitely got 6 points for the clean sheet. So he must have played at least 60. But I'm
just not sure about Doherty. What did James
say? Well, I guess the issue with Doherty is that after 12, which is obviously what you need him for, but after 12,
what's his name? Royal was back after suspension.
Yeah, Emerson Royal's back. So then you just don't know who's going to play. So that is the issue, isn't it? But
yeah, and there's you 20 minutes ago talking about you need to future-proof and you need to get someone nailed, and you're talking about Doherty. I think there's got to be a better option. But it's defenders are tricky. Like people aren't getting clean sheets, so I'm tempted. You'd almost be tempted to go right down to, Anderson or something, double up on Palace or someone around that mark.
No, I'm not doubling up on Palace. Aren't Palace like second bottom or like 17th or something, or they're not doing great, are they? I guess they won't be now because they won on the weekend. But their defense, they haven't kept many clean sheets at all, have they? I know they had tough fixtures.
That's right. Yeah,
literally because he was nailed and he was 4.3.
Yeah, I think they were 17th before this week, and I think they probably swapped with Leeds now because Leeds were hovering above them a little bit. Palace have got one clean sheet all season, that Newcastle 0-0 in game week 6 when Pope got 11 points or whatever, and then everyone bought them on wild card, and since then have done nothing.
Yeah. The defenders are not setting the world alight, are they? But I think Neco Williams, I guess I need to have a look on live FPL and kind of plan ahead and see how. I don't think cash is an issue once you go De Bruyne down to Foden. I don't think cash is an issue at all. So Neco Williams up to Doherty could be on the cards. But I think if I've got this many flags, I think you have to be a bit more willing to take a hit when you've
maybe true.
when you've
Sorry, I'm
got
talking you out of being your natural Nick Hughes self. This is when you thrive. Get those hits out.
No, this is when I take -4s, which cost exactly -4 after the weekend done. But I think the reason for the -4, I think when you've got Bailey and Neco Williams and you've got 2 flags in your team, I think you might have to. I think it's not great, but I might have to take a -4 just to actually make it work this week and next.
Did you one thing that was interesting about another interesting thing about Planet FPL's pod was the fact that Sudge wildcarded this week, which I thought and it went well. It was quite interesting, wasn't it? He had a lot of flags, similar-ish position to this, and thought go for it. And obviously not a great time in terms of near 12, but he's got so much more information and ditched like Trent with a flag and Diaz with in hindsight with a flag.
His wildcard sounded amazing as well. When he was reading it out, I was like, he must be like top 10k. And then he was like, I'm 700,000th in the world, and I was like, wow. But yeah, so yeah, we just had a very short break there for a sec. But yeah, Sudge's wildcard. Yeah, I just thought it sounded like it did. It was going amazingly well, and I'd been thinking what a great season he's been having anyway, and the fact that he still had the wildcard in the bag. But yeah, he just got too many flags. But I wish I had a wildcard now. But again, I think I'd probably still be trying to save it for game week 13. But while we were away, I was just having a quick look on Twitter. It does look like Reece James is going to be out because James from Planet FPL is kind of making a joke that everyone's going to be asking him about Matt Doherty. So, who I guess just off the top of your head, Shlee, so I don't surprise anybody with taking a -8. Immediately after this pod, but who do you think is the best Reece James replacement if you need a playing player, and given that there's a blank in 12?
Nice bit of filler there. He didn't quite fill enough so that I could load my Excel ticker on this really crappy laptop, so I'm just doing that. And when next Microsoft Office 365 loads, I'll tell you. Well, the ticker just quickly on this says Spurs. I don't know, Doherty. I don't know what I've got against him. I think partly because when I was doing the bloody me and Dunk hokey cokey early in the season, I was considering, like, was it Romero was the flavour of the month then, or maybe Dyer? So I wonder if maybe a centre back is a bit more nailed. Remember, he got midweek games next week, so a wing back doesn't scream guaranteed 90 minutes.
But when his replacement is suspended, it does to me.
Yeah, true. I suppose unless
he's going to finally play Jed Spence, but
Zuma, I suppose. But then they got a tricky 12. Can't go
but
City.
no one you're going to say though has ever got a couple of double digit hauls in 2 or 3 game weeks. I mean, true. Doherty, when he's on form, is the man.
Yeah. Saliba you can't go to. Let's look at the rest of this. The Brighton defender is tempting.
I think I'm going to go to Doherty.
Okay. Can't interest you in Dunk or Webster?
I guess that Forest fixture is really nice, but then in 13 they got City and then Chelsea.
Tell you what would be nice if Robertson was back. That would be good. If he plays in Champions League, gets 70 minutes and that's good. Okay, you got him for Liverpool, but then their fixture run is great and it gives you some of that Forest Leeds cover. Unlikely, I know.
I just think Liverpool are I don't think you can buy Liverpool players at the moment. They are in a mess.
Yeah,
they are in a mess. You've got no, and then if Robertson was 5'5", I'd say fine, but you're buying is he what? He's probably 6'8" now, is he, or something, 6'8", 6'9". But I don't think you can. I don't think you can go there with any confidence of clean sheets. Whereas at least with Spurs could keep a clean sheet against anyone because they're so negative.
True. Yeah.
And they've got good fixtures. So I think Doherty's the obvious one because he's going to play the next 2. And then if he plays well in the next 2, I think he'll keep his place.
Fair enough. So you for 12, let's say worst case, Mitra and James are injured. Let's say worst case, all the players that could reasonably be out are out. I'm counting 6 there. No, 7.
As in, I'd only have 7 playing players.
No, you'd have 7 that wouldn't play. 3 City, 2 on your bench, Mitra and James. So you'd have
7 players who wouldn't play. So I'd have 8. Oh
So
no,
you'd
I
have
wouldn't have
7
had 7.
playing.
I'd have 7, yeah, because I can't have 2 keepers playing. Can I bring Everson on at right back in the
Yeah.
he plays? Um, yeah, so I've got to take some hits.
You've got a few problems,
I've
as
got to
as
take,
most people, but you might be one of the worst ones.
I've got to take some hits. That's the thing. I'm in a really bad spot because if I had Alma on instead of Bailey and I had I don't know who a very cheap defender is instead of Neco Williams, Gahey, who I've also got. You'd be in a much better position, wouldn't you? But when you're relying on these bench players, I think this is maybe a good lesson that you want your bench players to be very, very steady, because even them getting just 2 points is really helpful. As soon as your bench players aren't playing at all,
Yeah.
it's pretty horrendous when you need them. So, and I knew in game week 8 that there was a blank in game week 12, so I should have been picking more reliable players. I didn't think things were going to go quite as bad at Forest as they have done since.
Yeah,
but
I think Nico's tricky to know because not sure if Aurier was signed by then. They were just going crazy with the signings, weren't they? But maybe again that was an alarm bell.
They're down already, Forest. There's no way they're getting back from this. They're trying to integrate an entire new team in a new league. They're just they're going to stick with Cooper and they'll probably come back up again in a season or two. But they've made a right mess of it this season. Who knows what their team will be like in the Championship next season? But I'm sure everybody's on a release clause, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, if James is out, I think Doherty is the best replacement because he's going to play. We know he can get attacking returns. They play a wing back system and they're a very, very boring. They've got a better chance of keeping clean sheets than most teams.
And what is the is Royale suspended then until between 12 and 13? 12 will be his last suspension.
Yeah, he's
That
back
sounds
13.
about right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it kind of would be just flogging Doherty until then, and then Royale probably comes back 13.
Well, he's only 4.7. Like I actually think he'll probably rise tonight or tomorrow because there'll be so many people flocking to him from James. I think. But he's only 4. I think he's only 4.7, isn't he?
No idea. I'm just trying to find him on the fixtures page, but he probably hasn't done anything this season to be able to find him that easily. So feel free to tell me when I'm looking at my team.
You'd have to go into transfers to find him. I did it. I did it today. Yeah, so I think I probably would take a -4 this week, and I'd probably do James to Doherty, and then I could just do James to Doherty this week because, as we've already said, Pereira could come in for Mitrovic, but Aubameyang, despite scoring a brilliant goal that I've just watched as well on Twitter, he could be benched again, couldn't he?
Yeah,
which would be pretty devastating. So I should probably bring forward a transfer, but unfortunately, James to Doherty doesn't get me the money I need to get, say, Trossard in for Bailey or anyone in for Bailey, which is painful.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I'm a bit stuck. I think I probably would just, if James is confirmed out, would just do James and just have to hope Aubameyang plays. Because Mitrovic could well be back as well.
Yeah, for me, the screams that just even more got away for press conferences. I mean, there's 3 players there that easily could be in or could be out. Well, not sure, easily on James and his state of his injury, but there could be some news. So,
yeah, and the thing for me as well in the press conferences is because Doherty is so much cheaper than James, and because I don't expect money to be an issue in the next few weeks because I'm going to do De Bruyne down to Foden, very likely De Bruyne down to Foden. Even if Doherty goes up 0.1, 0.2, I don't think he'll go up 0.2, but even if he goes up 0.1, but even if he goes up a bit and James drops, I think that 0.2 is worth it because just to hear what's going on and give it a couple more days.
If we get 2,000 viewers to this video, Doherty might go up by 0.2. That's the only way that's happening.
What, you think we'll be the only content creators talking about James and Doherty?
Yeah, Planet FPL James, what does he know? They're going to come to the Onion, aren't they?
Exactly. They should do.
Right. Good. That's a bit of live reaction to that.
Took a while though. Sorry about that. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if we didn't have that news, I'd have just been like, yeah, rolling, it's easy.
Yeah. Right then, I've got 2 free transfers, 2.3 in the bank, so kind of the polar opposite to you. I've got 2 and I've got more money.
Very nice.
The things I wrote down before we started was if Mitro's out, I would consider switching him to one of the 6 players. I can't remember who I ditched from the 7 from last week. I think my alpha on there is Wilson, and then probably Bamford is last, but the other 4 are very middle-ish and tricky to split.
I don't think you would you bother with Welbeck? I mean, he's never going to get returns, is he?
I think if he was 7 or 8 mil, probably not, but it's need like 6, so for money it might be quite good. I mean, I probably don't need the money, but yeah, I don't know. Brighton fixtures though, they are decent. But yeah, he's not clinical as he's more of an assister.
Yeah, and they're not decent after they're not decent 13, 14, are they? So
True. Yeah, they got City. Yeah, fair. So maybe he is second bottom. But I put Andor, so that's if we get some news from Marco Silva. But Patterson to Gay was the fairly obvious boring one. Load that in for next week. If James is out though, does he become a priority? Probably, because I would have to play Williams. So it's actually slightly different for me. You've got 4 playing. You've got 3 playing defenders and Williams. Or if I would have 2. So yeah, James would be my priority. So I need to get my thinking cap on about defenders. Maybe Gay is still the play, and maybe I carry Patterson through 12. Because spending 2 transfers on defenders would be a bit. I just don't see the points gains there. I need to digest that.
yeah, and given the other issue is right. I mean, because you could wait for the press conference. I think you wait for the press conference anyway. But I mean, if he's injured now, he's very unlikely to be fit for the midweek next week as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm worried a bit about Mitrovic as well. If Silva is a bit coy with it, great, you might start this weekend, but is he going to play them 3 days later and 3 days later? That's a bit of a hindsight to last week. Maybe we should have dealt with Mitrovic, but it's easy to say now, maybe.
Yeah, that James news is really bad, isn't it?
Yeah, he's such a troll, isn't he? Like, I know you captained him, I think, in 28, was it last week, when he came back from injury and just got 18 points from. Oh, was it in a double? He got 18 points in the first game and then got
It was a
injured
double, and
again.
I captained him. He got 18 points in the first game and then didn't show up for the second game.
Yeah.
But yeah, still pretty nice though.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the thing. I don't know I don't know how he got injured tonight, but he is quite injury prone because he is very highly tuned, as I like to say.
He's overclocked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's his biceps. It's his biceps. They're the problem. Yeah.
I got Foden exploding again, is my fear. So watch out for those 10 points coming in plus again.
Yeah, it would have been easier if Cancelo had got injured, wouldn't it? Get Cancelo out, get Foden in with your 2 free transfers.
Yeah, that would have been good. I mean, yeah, he played 90 minutes tonight. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to be rotated either, but he's they didn't rotate too much against Copenhagen.
No. Thing is, you have got the ideal scenario to deal with any major issues. The trouble is your team structure, isn't it? And the fact that you've got Patterson sitting on the bench. But 2 free transfers and 2.3 in the bank gives you so much flexibility. Like you could take a -4 this week and almost like mini wildcard, couldn't you?
Yeah, true. I mean, what would you say, quickly looking at that? Do you think my moves are sensible-ish, like James out to someone?
I would do James. Well, I've been talking him up, but I do James. If James is definitely out for this weekend, if it's like, oh, he might be okay, then he might still play in 12, in which case I'd probably move Neco Williams out because you've got enough money, you can go to anyone. I'd probably just do Neco Williams to Doherty.
It'd be Patterson to Doherty though, right?
Okay, because you think at least Neco Williams could get a point. Yeah. I guess so. But then I'd still have a plan for Neco Williams next week unless you are going to play with 10 players. But yeah, Patterson to Doherty and then
roll the other, or
that's the thing, isn't it? You could just roll the other because you're still going to get Andreas in for Mitrovic. You haven't got a problem like Aubameyang in there. Everyone else is pretty solid and going to play. So yeah, I'd probably just do that. Patterson, Doherty, and then bench James and just see. But if James is definitely out, like if he's out for a month or something, then I don't know. You might as well do James to Doherty because then you're not going to lose the value on him. But
yeah, fair.
Yeah,
the other thing with Neco is that I can't remember who said it again. It was someone clever on Twitter thought that if Aurier is flavour of the month, I think it might have been Zoff, that might mean that Neco plays in the midweek game. Because Aurier might not be fit enough to do 3 games a week, so maybe he plays the weekend and Neco Williams plays midweek, which would be very
Yeah, that's a good shout. And it's probably, I guess, what's the worst thing that happens? He just gets 1 point as your 11th man. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's not horrendous, is it?
Yeah,
it's not. It's probably not worth the equivalent of a -4, even if you can afford it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, some talking points. I think we've covered most of this. I mean, wildcard 13 plans, but we haven't actually discussed what we're doing next week with the short turnarounds. We'll try and pod of some sort next week, but I think some people obviously end of next week are going to be pretty keen on wildcard drafts. But yeah, I think as we're at an hour 25, probably won't go into that too much now.
I wouldn't be surprised though if James is out this week. I think a lot of people will be pulling wild cards this week as well, which would be mad because, with that blank there. But I think some people will be considering it now.
If they got, I mean, some people could have your team, but a wild card, as in weak bench, but then suddenly James is another issue to add on top of it, and think, do a Suj and wild card now.
Yeah, and just get on the best 3 City, or get on 2 of City and bench them, and then
roll the transfer next week, and then you've got 2 for 13. Actually, the timing wouldn't be too bad, would it?
No, that actually probably makes sense. I think a lot of people will use it this week.
I'll just caught my eye. Andy just retweeted a quote. Potter says he hopes James is okay. Too early to say. Needs to wait 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to wait. I think everybody should wait. This is the kind of thing where you should somebody's going to ask him about it, and if he's definitely out, if he's broken a bone or something. I don't know what it even looked like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think we've talked about most of those other ones. Happy to move on.
Salah and TA, I think we've just said don't. But I mean, obviously Trent's injured, I think so. But would you sell them before? Would you sell Salah before City?
No. I mean, Andy is in that sort of position, isn't he? He's done his wild card. He's got Salah. He's going to play. He needs players in 12. You just wouldn't get rid, would you? And he's got so many other fires.
He put out a really funny tweet. His knee-jerk stream was pretty funny on was it Sunday night?
Yeah, I saw that. I listened.
The first comment was somebody saying this plays like a manager who's under pressure, like a press conference of a manager, which I thought was a pretty funny comment. But he's getting so annoyed with people just constantly saying, "Oh, you're being stubborn on Salah. You got to get Salah out." And so he's just tweeted tonight. He's hilarious, Andy, but he's just tweeted saying Reece James is out, Mitrovic is out, and I can't remember who else he's got who's flagged. But he was like, "So surely everyone's suggesting that I should be taking Salah out -24."
His argument just constantly if this was your team, there's no way you'd be getting rid of Salah given all these flags I've got. You'd be getting rid of the blankets.
He's got a real bee in his bonnet about this Salah thing, obviously because people are picking on him about it, but it's just funny because he's raging about it. But his luck will turn as well. I think the World Cup's going to be good for everyone because we can just enjoy the football, have a bit of time off from FPL, enjoy Christmas, and then kind of get back into it. But Trent, I think you have to sell Trent because he's out, isn't he? And he's too much money.
Yeah.
But again, people are going to have so much money. Imagine if you've got Trent and you come down to a Doherty or a Gay or someone. People are going to have millions and millions to spend.
Yeah, and you got James. They'll be going down to similar sort of price.
Exactly. There'll be loads of people. Everyone who's got Trent will probably have James as well, and they'll have 6 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Saka over Jesus. Yeah, I think Saka over Jesus, but I might try and have both if Aubameyang just keeps getting rested. Potter rotation. Yeah, we've definitely talked about that. Super annoying.
Yeah. Talked about Bowen.
Talked about Gameweek now. Almiron. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think we haven't really talked about Gameweek 12 captaincy too much, but I think it's got to be between Trossard and Salah, really, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and while we're on that, we should do our differential punt choice this week.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I didn't get 10 plus with Daka, but I did get a return. Who did you go with? Did you go Doherty?
I think I went Doherty. I got 6.
Okay, nice.
Solid 6 from my punt.
Just in case you haven't mentioned Doherty enough this episode, he's back in again.
Go on then, you go first.
Right, a 10 plus pointer, big differential this week. I will pick.
What are we classifying as differential?
I think Daka and Doherty is a good level. I don't know, what are they, less than 5% owned?
I think we need to open it up a little bit more than 5%, don't we?
What, as in you want a more differential than that, or
No,
or
I
less?
think we should be like, if they're under 15% owned, I think that classes as a differential this season, because there are so many well-owned players, aren't there? But
I feel that you're going to just gain every advantage here and check, and someone's 14, just really go for that. I'm gonna go pretty random here. Pedence.
I knew you were going to be looking at that fixture.
Really?
Pedence? No, Wolves are terrible. They can't string 4 passes together. Although actually, apparently they are very, very good in possession. They just can't create chances.
Yeah.
I'm going to go very left field, but actually right field, and against a team that's been doing really well. I'm going to go Anthony against Newcastle.
Okay, nice. Like it.
Yeah.
Is that why you were checking the 5%? He might be more than 5%.
No, I don't know. I don't think he. Although I guess he could be, because it's United and he's scored a couple of good goals. But
he is 8% owned. So
is he? There you go. Well, maybe it's under 10%. But I was looking at, like, I reckon it'll. I do think that Arsenal fixture is amazing, isn't it? Leeds away. I think they're gonna smash them.
Yeah.
But they're right. You won't be finding many less than 15% players in that Arsenal side.
No, unless it's a Odegaard, but he might actually be pushing more than 15. He had such good, like, was it Gameweek 3? He got 16 points. We named one of the episodes after him, didn't he? He was absolutely brilliant. And then, to be fair, it's gone a bit quiet. He did assist was it he? No, Saka passed to Martinelli. He did get an assist.
It was Odegaard.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
The first goal. Yeah, okay.
For the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is 13.8, just out of interest, so he's pretty much on the boundary.
There you go. The arbitrary boundary that I just made up about 90 seconds ago.
Yeah. What we're playing to. Right, we have got to the end. 1 hour 32. We should probably wrap this up.
We should definitely wrap it up. I can't believe, I thought this was going to be really short, because I was going to be like, I can't make any transfers, I can't do anything. But I do think we have to be more open to hits when we've got flags in our team.
Fair. No,
yeah. And terrible players.
I suppose it's not. Yeah, I suppose the immediate thought is that it's not like there are loads of, I gave you a few defender options there, and understandably you were like, no, they don't sound great. So it's not like
no, true. I think
choice.
if you take Matt Doherty out of that equation, there's no one. So
has to be. Right then. Anything else from you, Nick?
No, nothing from me. Another 90 minutes when I thought it was going to be a short one, but thank you for that, Shlee. Very enjoyable. And I think the last message to everyone is just wait for all the news you can get before deadline. But I think it's a Friday night deadline, isn't it?
Yes, I was just about to say all the info you can, but don't miss the deadline. 6:30 Friday UK time.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you for watching, everybody, and listening. If you've enjoyed the content, please give it a like, share, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and we will be back soon. See you next week. Bye.
All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.